The valley was quiet that evening, cold. Wind moved slowly through the tall grass, and the sky above was covered with thick, grey clouds. Daniel Mercer walked along the narrow dirt path that led back to his small wooden cabin. He carried a small medical bag in one hand and a lantern in the other. Daniel lived alone on the edge of the frontier lands, where human settlements were rare and the nights were silent. He preferred it that way. Years ago, he had worked as a field medic during the border wars. But when the fighting ended, he left the crowded cities and chose a quieter life. Now he spent his days helping travelers and settlers who crossed the outer lands. Most nights were peaceful, but this night was different. As Daniel walked past a cluster of large rocks, he heard a sound that made him stop. A weak, painful breath. Daniel slowly turned toward the sound. At first he thought it might be an injured animal, but when he stepped closer, his lantern light revealed something that made him freeze. A young alien woman lay against the rocks. Her armor was cracked and burned. Blue blood covered the ground beneath her. Her silver skin reflected the lantern light, and faint glowing lines moved slowly across her arms. Two curved horns rose gently from her head, and behind her back a large wing was torn. Badly, she looked like a warrior who had fallen from the sky. Daniel knelt beside her. Her breathing was shallow, her pulse was weak. Whatever battle she had fought must have been brutal. For a moment, Daniel looked up at the dark sky. Helping an unknown alien could be dangerous. Some species were hostile, some carried diseases, some governments punished humans for interfering with alien military conflicts. But Daniel had been a medic for too long. He could not walk away from someone who was dying. All right, Daniel whispered softly. Looks like you found the right valley. He removed his jacket and carefully wrapped it around her shoulders. When he lifted her, he felt the surprising strength still present in her body, even though she was unconscious. As he carried her toward the cabin, her golden eyes opened slightly. She looked confused and frightened. She whispered something in a strange language, did not understand the words, but he understood the fear. You are safe, he said gently. No one is going to hurt you. Here her eyes closed again. By the time Daniel reached the cabin, the rain had begun to fall inside. The warm lantern light filled the room. Daniel placed the alien warrior carefully on his medical table. Then he began working. He removed pieces of damaged armor, cleaned her wounds, applied regeneration, Jalan sealed the deepest cuts with emergency medical foam. Her biology was different, but the universal medical scanner slowly adapted. Hers passed outside. The storm grew louder. Inside the cabin, Daniel worked silently. Finally, her breathing became steady. Daniel leaned back in his chair. You are one tough soldier, he said quietly. Morning sunlight filled the cabin. When the alien finally woke, her golden eyes opened quickly. She sat up instantly, despite the bandages covering her wounds. Daniel lifted his hands calmly. Easy there, warrior, your body still needs time. The alien woman looked around the cabin. Carefully, her movements were controlled and alert, like someone trained for battle. Then she looked directly at Daniel. She spoke a sentence in her language. Daniel tapped the small translation device on the table. Let us try something. The device hummed and analyzed her voice. She spoke again, slower this time. Translator produced a robotic voice. Where am I? Daniel smiled slightly. My Cavanata Valley sector. You crashed nearby last night. Sue were badly injured. She looked down at the bandages across her side. Then she looked at Daniel again. You treated my wounds? Yes. Wide shrugged. Because you needed help. The alien woman studied his face carefully, as if trying to understand something deeper. After a moment, she placed a hand on her chest. I am Kailara, warrior of the Varelian guard. Daniel nodded politely. Daniel Mercer, human. Medek and Farmer Kalara tried to stand, but pain stopped her. Daniel gently guided her back to the chair. Not yet, your body is still healing. She looked slightly frustrated, but allowed it. Days passed. Slowly Kalara remained inside the cabin while her wounds healed. At first she spoke very little. She watched Daniel carefully, every movement, every action. Daniel, however, treated her like any other injured traveler. He brought her food, fresh water, and warm tea made from valley herbs. One evening, Kalara finally asked a question. Why do you live here alone? Daniel was fixing a broken lantern when she spoke. He looked up and smiled. Peace and quiet it is. Aloud too. Many people forget how to be kind out here. Things are simple. If someone is hurt, you help them. Kalara watched him silently. Among my people, strength is everything, she said. Weakness invites conquest. Daniel nodded. Slowly, strength is important, but kindness can also be strength. Kalara raised an eyebrow. Kindness does not win wars. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Maybe not, but it stops people from becoming enemies. That answer seemed to interest her. Weeks passed. Kalara recovered quickly. Soon she could walk normally again. Then one day, Daniel stepped outside and saw her standing in the valley, her silver wings spread wide as she tested their strength. With one powerful movement, she lifted into the air. Daniel watched as she circled above the valley, graceful, strong, freeway. She landed again. She looked different. Not just a wounded warrior anymore. You are fully healed. Daniel said yes, she replied. Then she did not leave. Daniel noticed that you were planning to stay for a while. He asked one morning. Kalara looked toward the sky. My ship was destroyed. My fleet believes I am dead. Daniel scratched his beard. Well, that is unfortunate. She looked at him. Does my presence trouble you? Daniel laughed. You helped repair my roof yesterday and scared away a pack of Grax wolves last week. I would say you were a good neighbor. For the first time, Kalara smiled. Life in the valley became something new. Daniel showed her how to grow vegetables. She taught him how to defend himself using Varelian combat techniques. At night, they talked about their different worlds, about war, about peace, about strength and kindness. Slowly, a bond formed between them. One night they sat together under a sky full of stars. Kalara spoke quietly. Among my people, there is a tradition. Daniel looked curious. What kind of tradition? When a warrior owes their life to another, she said, a life bond is formed. Daniel blinked. That sounds serious. It is. She turned toward him. At first, I believed I would repay my debt and return to my people, but humans are confusing. Daniel laughed softly. You are not the first alien to say that. Kalara stepped closer. You saved me, though you did not know my species. You protected me, though I was a warrior from another world. You showed strength through kindness among my people. That defines a worthy life. Partner. Daniel stared at her. Wait, are you saying what I think you are saying? Kalara nodded calmly. Yes. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. Well, that escalated quickly. She tilted her head slightly. You do not wish this bond? Daniel looked at her glowing golden eyes, her strong wings. The warrior who had once fallen wounded in the rain. Then he looked around the peaceful valley. You know, he said slowly, this valley could use another resident. Kalara smiled brighter than ever before. Then perhaps, she said, this warrior has finally found her home. And Daniel Mercer realized something strange and wonderful. The alien girl he had once carried home as a wounded stranger had quietly become the future he never expected. His partner, his protector, and one day his wife.